kids growing up, our grandparents used to stress to us that the body expires when the mind retires. Never quit learning. And keep an open mind and be willing to hear what you don't want to hear. And that's very hard when we're dealing with emotional issues. Whether it's our family, whether it's jobs, whether it's our health. It's hard to hear things that immediately want to put a fear into our being. He also told me, he said, I don't expect you to know everything, but I expect you to know where the library is. And then learn how to use it. And then use it. I don't purport to have all this information inside this small little brain of mine, but I do know where to go for the resources. And that's the value of what we have today. Part of it because of technology. The availability of our technology is a result of everything we have is either grown or mined. That's a reality of life. And without agriculture and without mining, we lose a very significant portion of our wealth-generating environment that creates carbon, that allows us to spend the money that we have. Without good commerce, we have recession. With the recession, we have a loss of eco-terrorism. I spent 12 years in the hospitality industry, where I was very much important, and a lot of our business came from people that came to Southern Arizona because of Major League Baseball. We don't have that anymore. A lot of our tourism came because, thank goodness, we still have the gem show. Thank goodness for the El Tour de Tucson. And thank goodness for the beauty that surrounds our community. I appreciate the fact that we are threatened by a physical heating of our natural beauty. There's going to be a hole in the mountain when this is all done. But Mr. Knorr said it very well. With technology comes continuing opportunity to improve and enhance. The quality of technology today is going to be far greater in the ability to improve upon the technology over the next 20 years if you just look back at the last 20 years. And if you look back at the success of this country after the Depression, you have to look back at the major investment of the private industries that came here to start the Industrial Revolution in the 50s. That put America on top. And I would believe this, I'm a disabled veteran. So in an era of war where we were very popular back then. Thank God that attitude has changed. But with a strong economic environment, we also have a strong national security. And as long as people have the opportunity to feed their families and enjoy the successes of their financial efforts, we have a much more stable and emotionally strong community. We also have a better social community. And I keep going back to this economics issue because, ladies and gentlemen, when you're struggling to feed your families, when you're desperate to try to figure out how I'm going to pay for my health care, how I'm going to pay for my rent, we have more nonprofits trying to help people that are underprivileged in Southern Arizona than proportionally than anywhere else in the United States. That's a very scary. Our poverty level is rising. Unemployment level is rising. We do not incorporate and take the opportunity to accept things that scare us a little bit. Southern Arizona will begin to fall apart financially. We have a lot of people that come here to retire here. My grandparents retired in Green Valley. They know the value of money. My grandparents were right off Lockety into Ball Mine Road. And they woke up every morning and they turned around and they could see the tailings. Rosemont is investing a significant amount of resources and money to make sure that the tailings and the enhancement of the reclamation process is garnered. But I want to talk about something else, and you're going to hear about this probably later. Mr. Siriglier pointed out that the economic impact of outdoor tourism is $350 million in Southern Arizona. Well, I'd like to correct that. According to the Valley Forward in November 2011, the entire state of ecotourism is $350 million, not Southern Arizona. I'd also like to point out to the fact that when we live in a world economy. Did you know that 55% of Canadian business is as investors for the United States? We live in a world economy. Less than 30% of the investment into the United States comes from Canada. We ought to be very grateful that our friends to the north and our friends to the south, our neighbors, are willing to invest. The country of Mexico invests in its mining. They also invest in their environmental protection. And it is a proven fact when you look at the economic stability of a community, you also see a better natural environment within that community. I empathize with the idea that I'm going to drive down 83 and I'm going to see a hole in the mountain. But I also have to accept, in order to gain something, I have to be willing to give up something. When this project is completed and reclamation is completed, less than 1% of the Santa Rita Mountains will be impacted by the Rosemont copper mine. During its 21, 22 years of production, less than 2% of the total Santa Rita Mountain range will be impacted by Rosemont copper. 2% for a $700 million economic impact annually, minimum. 2% to continue to keep over 2,000 new direct and indirect jobs. That's a pretty darn good investment if you look at me. If I could invest 2% of my life and get that return on the investment, I'd be doing jumping jacks. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't expect you to agree with everything we have to say, but I'm going to ask you to do this. Set aside your fear and keep an open mind to looking at the facts. Because at the end of the day, we can deal with all the emotions, we can deal with our tears and anxieties, but when we still have to live with reality, it's a fact. I've had 21 surgeries. I've got more joints and steel in my legs than I care to admit. Guess what? Thank goodness for mining. Because the majority of all of that came right out of the minerals that we mine. And thank goodness for the mining people that not only contribute to financial jobs to this community, but also to the charities that we all want to support. We can't have something for nothing. And if we live in a society that expects that, then we will fail. Without a strong economic environment, we will not have the resources to sustain the values of which we want for our citizens, nor will we have the financial resources available to sustain the natural environment that we want for our lives. It's a win-win. And all I ask from the opposition in this particular case is to keep an open mind and find a way to make it work as a win-win instead of trying to divide and stop something. And I will question Ms. Hartman's statement. This mine will open because according to the 1970 mining laws in the United States of America, quote, the 1970 Mining and Mineral Policy Act established federal government's policy for mineral development to foster and encourage private enterprise in the development of economically sound and stable industries in an orderly development of domestic resources to help assure satisfaction of industrial security and environmental needs. Thank you.